South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Yesterday, Niall Reck was welcomed into his new role as the President of Wexford Chamber in what was a fantastic event in the Talbot Hotel in Wexford. One of the speakers at this event was renowned entrepreneur Sean Gallagher, and Sean joins me now to discuss how Wexford can harness its economic development potential. Sean, we'll be discussing yesterday's event where you gave the audience an outside perspective on Wexford. But first, it has been 7 years since you contested the presidential election. What have you been up to since then?
Karl, great to be with you and your listeners. Yes, 7 years moves very quickly. It's been busy. In 2012, I began to write for the Sunday Independent business section, where I have since been profiling successful Irish indigenous entrepreneurs and sharing their stories, their insights and their lessons to the public, to existing businesses and to aspiring entrepreneurs. So that has been an exciting journey. Then in 2014, I set up my own commercial property company with co-founder Colin Piercy, who is very well known within the telecoms sector. And since then, we have been building a portfolio of commercial, industrial and office facilities around the country in the regions, and bringing jobs to these regions and also supporting foreign direct investment and indeed expanding indigenous Irish businesses. And I've been involved in investing in, mentoring and supporting a number of other companies, both here in Ireland and indeed overseas. And on a much more personal note, Karl, myself and my wife Trish are now the proud parents of a 4 3/4-year-old son, as he calls himself. He's no longer 4 1/2, he's 4 3/4. And we have a 16-month-old girl, Lucy. So it's been a super time, and it's been an exciting time. And I think in that intervening period, Ireland, I think, has found its mojo again. And notwithstanding the challenges, I think we're all poised now for a much more positive and exciting future ahead.
Well, Sean, congratulations on all of that. Foreign direct investment is something that is much sought after here in Wexford, but it is often said that maybe the model county has been the forgotten county by the IDA. From your experience of working with the IDA and indeed multinational companies, what advice do you have for us in this regard?
I think, as I travel all the regions of the country, it's something I hear many regions saying, that they would like to see more foreign direct investment and the location of more multinationals in their area, and rightly so. And I think everybody is keen to get as many jobs into their areas to try and stimulate activities and economic activities and employment. In truth, I think, every area is vying for jobs. The IDA are working hard to bring companies, inbound companies, to the regions. Again, companies tend, from my experience, to want to go to the larger urban areas where there's universities, third-level colleges, and where there is a cluster of existing businesses, and this is the catch-22. What I believe is the most balanced approach is, yes, to drive foreign direct investment and to sell the benefits of your area, which I think Wexford is a super area in terms of quality of life, in terms of affordable housing, in terms of good infrastructure, in terms of culture, in terms of community, and all of that, and the support organisations that are there and the backdrop. But I think the key to that as well is to make sure, that the future of Ireland will not be just solely dependent on foreign direct investment, as important as that is. But FDI clients will never go to places where SMEs are around the country. And what we need to do is to grow our SME community to create those jobs in the areas where foreign direct investments never can. And I think that's the important thing, is we need to see a focus on growing, stimulating and attracting more startups into places like Wexford, and harnessing the talent that's there and harnessing the infrastructure that's there. And in that regard, I think the more business that is there, the more it becomes an even more attractive honeypot for foreign direct investment.
Now, yesterday, Sean, you were the guest speaker at Wexford Chamber's President's Lunch. For those of our listeners that were unable to attend this very special event, what was the core message for attendees on the day?
I think the key thing, and I see this, Karl, as I travel from county to county, almost every town in the country is facing a challenge. They're trying to improve the attractiveness of their area. And the key thing is that every area should focus on solutions rather than problems, and that it should be the collective. It's not one individual, not one organization's responsibility. It goes back to an approach that I learned many years ago when I was a community youth worker, that people support best that which they help to create. And so it is really about all the organizations and all the interests in the area coming together, whether that's accommodation providers, sports and activities, arts providers of services in that sector, whether it's the local government, whether it's Enterprise Ireland, IDA, LEOs, all coming together to have a coordinated, concerted strategy. What is, just as if Wexford was a town or a company, what's the mission that you want to achieve? How does everybody play their part in setting those objectives? What's the bigger plan? You know, it's never about selling a place just because it's attractive. It's never about selling a town because you just have education in it. It's about the collective package that businesses want. So it's about attracting tourism. It's about what other services you can then add to those tourists when they come, you know, to get a bigger spend. It's about what services and products you can build into that portfolio. So it's really about building a story. What does Wexford become known for? How do we reinforce that time and time again? How do you market, promote, get ambassadors to do that? How do you get conferences in and bring new people that haven't been there before? It's really about recognizing what are the unique strengths of Wexford and how can you best promote and harness them collectively.
Now, you've just been appointed as the president of US pharmaceutical firm Nutriband. What is Nutriband and what attracted you to this particular company, Sean?
Well, I came across the young entrepreneur Gareth Sheridan some years ago, and I spent a lot of time in schools and colleges and judging, startup enterprise programs. And Gareth was one such entrepreneur who emerged from one of the colleges, having developed a concept where he would use patches, a bit like the nicotine patches, to allow nutrients and vitamins to pass through the thermal structure of the skin on a slow release basis to help people, get access to important vitamins and nutrients. And I thought it was a great concept, and he was at a very early stage. And then I've kept in contact with him and seen his success as he developed the business in the US. And he invited me recently to join as a board director, as a president. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited because, in backing or becoming involved in any business, it's as much about the entrepreneur and the individual as it is in the business sector and the business opportunity. And Gareth is one of those entrepreneurs that is highly motivated and very focused and ambitious for himself and the business and his team. So that's great to be involved in that. I also am very supportive of the sector, which is pharmaceutical and nutraceuticals and nutrition, because as more and more pharmaceutical companies and drug development companies struggle to find new drugs and new technologies to bring to the market, more and more they are realizing that the real opportunity lies not in treating disease or illness when people are older, but in getting the intervention earlier to maintain wellness and well-being. And so nutrition and nutrients, I think, are going to be a fundamental part of that solution. And I think they're going to be a huge growth sector internationally and indeed globally.
Now, Sean, in your role as a journalist with the Sunday Independent, you get to hear some of Ireland's most inspiring business success stories. But from your experience, what are the characteristics which each of these entrepreneurs have in common?
I think, Karl, the most important two lessons I've learned in business through not just the Sunday Independent, but in my time through Dragon's Den, my time working in the enterprise boards, now the LEOs, for many years, and training and mentoring hundreds of entrepreneurs, and now even coaching internationally with my own mentor from the US. I think two important lessons. The first one is that nobody ever starts a big company. Everybody starts a small company. Even Apple and Microsoft, they all started as small companies who grew and developed. So it's all about taking that first initial step towards success. All success comes from simply having the courage to begin. I think the next important lesson is that nobody builds a big company on their own. You can't scale a company without a team, and that's about finding motivated people who believe in the same passion and vision as you believe in and are willing to commit themselves, their energies, their talents, their abilities to drive forward that mission and achieve that vision. I think really the traits that I see of successful entrepreneurs is this. Success has a lot less to do with intelligence and much more to do with psychology. It is a sense of purpose, a sense of vision, a sense of belief, of confidence. It's also a sense of optimism for the future. Entrepreneurs don't just see problems. Entrepreneurs see solutions to those problems. And if there's one thing that separates entrepreneurs from those who are not, and that is their attitude to risk, their ability to embrace the potential and the possibility of failure, knowing in certainty that failure is part of the journey to ultimate success, that if we were in America, it would be seen as an apprenticeship to ultimate success, that badge of honor that you get from trying and even failing, but knowing that there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. And that is that whole idea that the level to which we succeed, Karl, in life is the level to which we are willing to fail. And entrepreneurs understand that better than most.
And Sean, your Sunday Independent stories are now the basis for your new book, Secrets to Success. What compelled you to write this particular book?
Yeah, I'm really excited about, launching this new book, Secrets to Success, with Mercier Press in Cork. I've been listening to incredible stories of entrepreneurs, men and women, of various backgrounds, people who left school when they were young, people who worked in companies and lost their jobs and were made redundant and had to reinvent themselves, people who lost everything in the downturn and had to find a way back to provide for themselves and their families. I thought there was incredible bravery and courage in all the stories, but I thought there were great insights, but above all, I thought there was great inspiration for all these people, and I wanted to create a platform that they would be able to share those stories. And very often when you pick up a newspaper, you read a story and it's entertaining and it's engaging, but you forget the content and the lessons. So I decided to put 46 stories into a book called Secrets to Success, so that whether you're an existing business owner who's trying to overcome a challenge, who's trying to grow or scale their business, that you could pick up this book, flick through stories and find examples of entrepreneurs who have embraced and faced the same challenges as you do and have overcome the obstacles that you're now facing and have found a pathway to success, and that will become, information, become enlightenment, but above all become inspiration to encourage you to keep going, to find the ultimate solution to your challenge. And I think for those who are not in business but who have a burning desire to start their own business, that they will get inspired and motivated by the fact that so many people from so many different backgrounds, in so many different sectors and in so many different parts of Ireland have actually started and grown successful businesses, and that they are no brighter or smarter than anybody reading the book. But what they have done is that they have had a dream and they've had the courage to take action to make that happen.
And Sean, just to change Pat for a second, before Christmas, you settled your action with RTE surrounding the infamous Tweetgate moment, which occurred during the 2011 presidential election. Many of our listeners may be wondering why you settled rather than seeing the action through to its conclusion.
Well, the case had been ongoing, Karl, for 6 years, toing and froing back with discovery and documents and getting sight of everything that went on. And I guess the settlement before Christmas was not just about the tweet, which was the most prominent aspect of it, but it was about all the faults and failings that had been discovered in the Broadcasting Authority's ruling way back in 2012, and even RTE's own internal review back in 2012, which had everything to do with, the audience makeup, the selection of questioners on the night, the writing or drafting or redrafting of questioners by the production team, all of those things, the fact that there were no questions asked directly from the audience to other candidates on the night. All of that rolled into a programme that fell short of and was deemed to be unfair to me by the Broadcasting Authority. And ultimately RTE put their hands up, acknowledged that and apologised for it and settled the case. It is never about winning. It's never about going to court. It's never about trying to defeat RTE. It was purely about setting the record straight, but making sure the truth emerged, and importantly for me, it was also about making sure that lessons were learned, that what happened to me would never ever be allowed to happen to anybody else who ever went forward to stand for election, that it was ultimately about the integrity of the democratic process. And I was one of those people who came into the election to try and do something positive and to bring my message out there. And I want other people to be willing to step forward and to do the same. And therefore, that was a case that had to be brought. And I'm delighted that so many positive changes have happened now within RTE in terms of change of protocols and procedures that hopefully will ensure that what happened to me would never be allowed to happen again.
But what was the greatest lesson that you learned during the presidential election?
Well, obviously, apart from the power of the media, I think the greatest lesson out there is that there are so many amazing, wonderful people in every part of Ireland living lives every day, getting up, going to work, working hard to provide for their families, to make a contribution to their businesses and to their communities. And that what begets all of us now is to remember the power of the people, to remember the power of possibilities and the ability to dream of a better Ireland, to learn from the lessons, yes, of the past, but to make sure that we look forward with positivity and enthusiasm to create a future for ourselves, but much more importantly, for the next generation and for our young people. And to do that, we need to highlight all the possibilities that Ireland has, to harness all the potential it has, and to work together to make sure that we have a dream, a vision, a strategy for a new Ireland, not to look to the next 1, 2, 3 years or to the next election, but to look down the line 15 and 20 years. And if we had that vision of a medium to long-term vision, and we all work together, the power of what we could achieve is just unimaginable.
Sean, final question for you this morning. If a presidential election is called, will we see Sean Gallagher run for the Aras again?
Now, if I learned anything during my presidential campaign, Karl, it would be not to give you a straight answer and probably to say something like, I'm glad you asked me that question, Karl, and then I would proceed to answer everything but that question. What I would say to you is, that's a long way off. I would never rule out a career in politics in any way that I can contribute and to be involved in helping Ireland and my community and economy and the country. But for now, my focus is on business, in property, in writing, in investing, in mentoring and supporting and doing what I can to help entrepreneurs create jobs, to help Ireland become successful.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.